So what is bikepacking? Just a quick intro. I think it's important to remind to everyone what's this practice like. So that's basically what you see on the picture. It's taking a bicycle, so that can be a road bike, that can be a gravel bike, that can be a mountain bike, or an e-bike, attaching some bags on it and going for your own adventure. On that picture, I'm standing at 4,900 meters in the Andes in Peru, and carrying everything I have and I own. My kitchen, my bedroom, my bike mechanic, everything you see is everything I carry. So bikepacking is about, of course, adventure, simplicity, carrying as less as possible, and being in reach of everyone, meaning every type of bike. The interesting thing is, how about we discuss about the origin of bikepacking? What I believe is that bikepacking is a direct trend coming from backpacking, which started in the 1960s when you had hippies and the flower power willing to head to epic locations such as Afghanistan, because at that time it was a great location to explore and live a different type of life than the one that was imposed back in the 1960s. So from these people that were carrying their backpacks and exploring the Silk Route and all these locations, well, we've been going from this to this, which is the trail and hike industry as you know it today, which is $1 million industry because of events, because of the technology related to it, because of the lust for adventure that people are searching for. And now it's global, thanks to this equipment. One question. Do you think that's bikepacking? On that picture, I'm riding a world traveler. My bike is weighing 60 kilos. So I'm basically a 60-kilo man. So my bike is as heavy as me, or as light as me, depending on how you look at things. I have everything on this bike that allowed me to spend 185 days cycling from Colombia to Argentina, self-supported. So I had my kitchen. You can see my bedroom in the back, hanging in that orange bag. I have everything. I spent 100 nights outside thanks to that technology. But is it really bikepacking? How about this? That's me crossing the Inca Trail in 2019. Picture a 2,000-kilometer route following the Inca Trail above 4,000 meters. I'm standing at the Pumacucha climb at 5,000 meters altitude and carrying everything I have. The main difference between that picture and this one is that my bike weighs 25 kilos. What I believe is that we are slowly seeing with bikepacking a trend that is as powerful or even maybe more powerful than backpacking. The same way people were actually exploring the world and being the early adopters of the 1960s of bikepacking, bike touring configuration such as this one has been happening for 120 years. So it's been happening almost for centuries. However, it's been evolving very fast, because that's a bikepacking configuration of the 2000. What happened between the two is this. Evolution. Brands, companies working in a lot of directions to make this machine a reality. What's the main difference between the two configurations, this one and that one? We got a lot of innovations in this. I'm using a disc brake group set. It's electric, not the bike, the group. I'm having a power meter. I'm riding with aero bars like triathletes for my positioning. And just so you know, I spent 500 hours on that bike non-stop. Because what I've done with this bike, in 185 days, I went back to South America in 2017 to do the world record, the fastest known time, in less than 50 days. So riding 11,000 kilometers self-supported in 49 days. This machine is the answer. That's part of the answer, because it's light. I have technologies that I didn't use in the past. I have thinner tires. The wheels as well are tailor-made. I'm using bikepacking bags that are way lighter than the ones that I used to carry, and I'm carrying less as well. If we can define these two bikepacking use, this one would be close from Himalayan climbing style, where you are carrying a lot of equipment, taking a lot of risks, but the risk is limited because of the equipment you're carrying. This is getting into the trend, and I'm going to explain later why. Because the bike allows you to go alpine style for the people that are hikers and climbers, which means you are going faster, you are going higher. But that's the speed and the weight of the machine and the equipment you're carrying that makes the achievement possible. Basically, you're going faster than on a bike touring configuration, so you need to go above and across the elements, across the challenges that you have, faster than on a bike touring configuration that is slow because of its weight. Today, on the road, you see more bikes like this, equipped with bikepacking bags and light configurations than these ones. Way more. 1 out of 100. I'm going to try to explain why. Where does it come from? What are the key market evolutions and revolutions that happened over the past 20 years, and give you few insights about why it's happening and why we are just at the beginning of this. Because anyone in the room that thinks that it's a niche market and that I'm a crazy guy doesn't know me enough, because I'm just a normal guy like you and like everyone in the assembly. I've been starting riding my bike at 26 years old, so I'm a retard. I started cycling very late, and I'm not a professional. I'm just a regular guy doing crazy things. And right now, what's happening and what I've seen is that bikepacking is attracting what I like to call the non-players, and I'll explain why and what's the non-players. So the first big moment that happened and that was accelerated clearly with COVID is the micro-adventure. So what does it mean? Thanks to the evolutions in the market, in the bags, for instance, the bikepacking bags, and the gravel market as well, almost anyone now with a bike can go for a micro-adventure close to his home, in a foreign country, but with the borders that are nearby, such as France from Germany or Belgium. It's in reach of everyone, because you don't need a specific bike, like a bike touring configuration. And it's COVID-free, my friends. Because cycling is the only place on earth where you don't need to wear a mask right now, and where you can be alone and enjoy the landscapes and Earth as a whole without being bothered by controls, passes, or your phone. What's interesting to see as well is that micro-adventure has been possible to push people outside, also because of revolutions like Strava, where people are sharing more and more rides, and that way it gets more easier for more and more people to start their own adventure. It took me a year of planning for my first cycle crossing of South America. For the world record, thanks to the nowadays tools, it took me less than 2 months. The second shift that is happening, and that has been happening, and I'm one of the key players in it, It's clearly adventure bike racing. It's people like you and me taking a bicycle, joining an event, and doing something that is supposed to be crazy. That's the non-players market. That's how I call it. Let's step back for a second. Remember the Xbox, Microsoft. Remember the PlayStation with Sony. You had these two big markets that are players. Road cyclists, maybe mountain bikers. Let's put it that way. And one day Nintendo surprises everyone with the Wii. Because the Wii players are neither coming from the road cyclist market nor the mountain biking market. And that's what I've seen with the biking man. That's how I call the non-player syndrome. It's a community that is way bigger, that loves cycling, that loves adventure, and that is way more bigger than the actual community of cycling. It's also, the adventure bike racing is also a slow evolution of what you could see with adventure racing in the 1990s for the people that know the market, where people were actually doing multi-element sports events that were very dangerous. Then in 2000, people started marathon running and trail running a bit. 2010, when the triathlon industry boomed, I believe the adventure bike racing is the next shift for this, because it's expanding the possibilities of people that are riding bikes, and it's also talking to the outdoor industry. And we're coming back to the backpack history. Remember one of my first slides. One influence as well that is significant is clearly expedition cycling. People that are doing crazy things and bringing visibility. Who knows Carion? Everyone knows Carion. Not because of his trail running medals, but because of his trail running medals and also all the achievements and the world records and the fastest known time that he's been achieving on its own. The same is happening in the cycling industry right now. Whether it's a gravel bike, road bike, or mountain bike, you get people heading up there and smashing records, trying to push boundaries, and using the technology that we have for cycling, lighter bikes, faster technology that I'm going to explain afterwards, to push boundaries and push people outside to ride bikes. It's also, I think, appealing to something that we're all searching for right now. It's a land of possibility, out of boundaries, because we are slowly having boundaries. COVID is one of them. Lots of constraints on our movements. And cycling has never been that appealing and that sexy today, because anyone can actually ride his bike outside and be free. One example, in 2016, I was here at EUROBIKE, and I was just attending the fair. Today, I'm standing in front of you, and I'm super proud to be there. I've given a TED Talk 2 months ago on adventure racing. So the movement is happening. Let me give you some of the key revolutions that I see and that are explaining why bikepacking actually is taking off right now. One of them, you all know it, is the GPS. I've added one word, the tracking, because GPS is not new. It's 20 years old. But what's coming up, and what is actually right now happening, is the GPS tracking system, which means you can know in real time where people are anywhere on Earth. I could send to my family, and I can send to my relatives, as soon as I'm on an expedition, my position to say I'm okay. The main difference between the GPS that you have on your watch or the bike computer that you have is that the GPS tracking system, such as a Sport, allows you a two-way communication. So you can receive an information, which is your position, but you can also send it. And that's a big difference. My major in study was communication. My thesis was on how the internet is changing the way we communicate between each other. I was one of the very few French people, because at that time I was studying in the US, to get a Facebook address. At the time where Facebook was actually only spreading through the universities. What I believe is that with social media and the internet, and the fact that we are constantly trying to exchange on a live stream basis and on live, that is also a mandatory equipment that is allowing the bikepacking industry to take off. Because your relatives now want to know exactly where you are, what's happening to you in real time. Obviously, you had a lot of innovations in terms of bike equipment. I've already mentioned quite a few. The gravel segment is definitely one of them, because it brought to the public the possibility to go on and off-road without having a mountain bike or a bike touring configuration. So it really widened the perspective in that way. I'll give you an example. In 2016, I was attending to Roc d'Azur event in France, which is one of the biggest fairs for mountain biking. I was at that time searching for a gravel bike. And I was literally insulted by the people when they understood that I was searching a gravel bike, because they told me, here, sir, it's a mountain bike fair, so go away. Now you go to the Roc d'Azur, it's happening in 2 months, you'll see the gravel bikes in the front and the mountain bike in the back. That's how the gravel segment is pushing the industry. The bags, you've seen the two machines, the 60 kilo one and the 25 kilo. It's clearly one of the main game changer, because from one specific bike that was needed to explore the world, now you can take any bike, attach a saddle bag in the back, and go for your own adventure. You also have, but it's still in a nutshell, at its beginnings, the clothing that is slowly evolving towards long distance and gravel riding. And of course, the work, the spectacular work that has been done by brands on the components side. One of the revolutions is bike racing, adventure bike racing. In 2017, the first event that I organized gathered 17 people, 17. And it took me an entire year to find these nutties. In 2021, I had 20,000 people ready to ride a biking man, which is 1,000 kilometers self-supported with at least 20,000 meters of elevation gain, so half the elevation of the Tour de France. I had 20,000 people coming from 25 nationalities. It crashed my website. My company website died when I opened the registrations. I was insulted on social media because people couldn't sign up. I've built so far 19 events, and my framework of study is 1.3 million kilometers covered by the participants of the Biking Man. I've seen big shifts happening over the past 2 years, especially television and core media heading to that segment, such as France Télévisions, the main national TV in France, producing a TV series on the Biking Man. So that's clearly helping. I'm not the only one. Now you have hundreds of adventure bike racing events. Every day, there is one new event happening. We are seeing the same equivalent and the same excitement as the trail running industry 20 years back. Social media are also a game changer. Influencers, you might hate them, you might love them, or both, but they are truly helping to build brand awareness and bikepacking awareness around cycling expeditions. You get countless influencers now that are, right now, as I speak, I should be with them, they are smashing records. They are attempting world records. They are trying to climb that mountain and promoting that adventure cycling ethos. What it's showing as well is that it's moving what we've seen with the Pro Tour, which focused a lot of attention on cycling because of professionals. What I believe is that slowly we are shifting to an amateur market where people, thanks to social media, are more and more fighting themselves to identify with a normal guy rather than I don't know, Chris Froome or Tadej Pogacar. All these people that are watching on social media, that are following these influencers, are non-players most of the time. They are passionate in sports. They are not necessarily cyclists, but they are way more than regular road cyclists or mountain bikers. There is also something happening. It's like the booster, not the one you think. The real booster of the market, which is the COVID. The COVID is really pushing the adventure and the expedition market in the right direction because it's opening boundaries for people that have a lot of borders. It's an answer for a lot of people that are stuck at home, that can't fly to that epic location they were supposed to go. And the bike is the answer. And adventure is the second answer. Let me give you a few insights regarding what I see as an evolution of biking, and then I hope you have some questions that I can answer. In terms of equipment, what I see is that for now we are still at the beginning of what we can do in terms of technology for the bags, because the bag capacity, you've seen my two bikes, 60 kilos, 25. The brands need to work harder because there are a lot of things to do, a lot of innovations to create. The bags right now in bikepacking sucks. If you explore the world and use bikepacking configuration right now, the top gear can be improved 100 times. It's growing. I'm helping as an influencer as well to give some return to actually start manufacturing these bags. You have the technology as well, smart technology, that is slowly coming into this segment, such as LED lighting for safety. Better bikes, of course. Right now, gravel is a bit like a mantra, but we are still we're very far from having the best adventure bike on the market, very far. My belief is that as soon as brands will start really focusing and not just do marketing, really building a bike made for adventure racing, people willing to go around the neighborhood will look at these people. And the same way you're buying the same shoes as to do your hike close to your home, these people will be interested to look at these bikes to actually do something easier. Smart clothing as well is a part of the game because bikepacking implies challenges for regular racing. You're solo on the road most of the time, so you need safety. You need to be visible. You need pockets because you don't have much carrying capacity. For now, very few brands are putting that element in their marketing strategy. How do I build a clothing that is made for long distance riding, designed to be used under hill by -25 in Bolivia, searching for equipment? Functionality will be key to withstand extreme conditions and work with ultra uses, like ultra cycling. Adventure bike racing, I think, will lead that revolution. COVID effect is clearly changing the game. You get thousands of people racing, events, solo, jumping on an adventure in France, abroad. It's really exploding. One thing that happened a few days back, Ironman is now entering the game by buying the Haute Route. When you have someone like Ironman joining, that's a big sign for the market going to evolve. What I believe is that as a brand, Biking Man, for my company, TMB, of the bicycle, which means it's not going to gather millions of people, but it will inspire people to actually ride bikes. Adventure bike racing, as I told you before, it's COVID ready. That's the answer for events. I'm the only French organizer who managed to organize an event during lockdown last year, and in Portugal as well. With the travel constraints that we are all enduring, cycling is the key. Cycling is one of the answers when you link it with adventure. The main question remains for the brands, going abroad or focusing on your core markets. Does anyone in the assembly knows this quote? You know it? No. It's from a philosopher called Günther Anders. This guy was passionate about technology. He wrote several books on how technology is slowly transforming the way we behave. I selected this quote because we are, as you know, in a world with more and more technology, more and more competition, but more and more individuality as well. And COVID is clearly accelerating this because of social distancing. I believe in that quote because I'm one of them. I like competition, and sports is definitely helping me to compete with others without killing them. It's a good way, a healthy way, to spend time with others and compete. On the other hand, Anders was already also focused on growth. And as technology is leading our civilization right now, the need for the bicycle industry to grow will have to go into that direction, because for now it's a blind spot for most brands. Bikepacking is a blind spot. The main question now, as a conclusion, is I don't know if you're business owners, manufacturers, working for a company, but when I ask you this, it's not are you ready to ride bikes? It's more, what is your strategy as a business owner? What's your strategy as an employee to talk to that market? Do you already have a segment? Are you spending even €1 in research and development in that segment? Are you already studying partnerships with events or athletes? Because if you're not, I strongly suggest you to jump in the train, because it's happening right now, just in front of your eyes. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Anything? Yep. Yep.
As in touring, the concept is touring, throw away half your bags, and boom, you have a new trend. So my question is actually, when you go from 60 kilos to 25, how does the stuff that you carry with you change? Because that's essentially what happens. You can't do the same type of...
Well, you can, but it's thanks to the technology. I used to ride a Koga bike at that time. There was no gravel bike at that time.
Can you shrink the food, the tents, the clothing, everything?
Yeah. Yeah.
Half the size?
It's the same analogy that I've made between alpine climbing and Himalayan climbing. With bikepacking, you can go faster. Basically, between the two bike configurations, with the same physical effort, between bikepacking and bike touring, it's 2.5. Which means if you can cover 100 kilometers with 60 kilos bike, I could cover 2.5 that same distance with the same fatigue. So it's turning off it, the challenge of finding food, for instance, it's not the same when you can cover only 50K than when you can cover 100. Same goes with water. Same goes with sleeping. You don't have the same strategy at all. It's completely changing the game. Bike touring is going slow and carrying everything because you will be slow and you'll face situations where you'll have nothing. The technology of bikepacking, of fast bikepacking, is really helping to bring more people inside because you don't need specific bikes. You can do it with any bikes, which is not the case with bike touring. And then you have a lot of equipment right now available. Bike panniers, clothing, the GPS tracking systems as well, the mounts on the forks that are on all gravel bikes right now, and turning that niche market where you had to buy a bike specifically for traveling to, and the gravel bike is one of the answers for this. Yeah. Correct. But that's exactly what happened between the 1960s for the backpackers that went to Afghanistan and the people that are now attempting world records climbing the Himalayas trail running. You get technology. The vest is different, the shoes are different, the bags they're carrying are different, the safety system is different. The same happened for backpacking. A backpack in the 1960s was weighing, I don't know, 35, 45, maybe 60 kilos. Right now you got people crossing continent and walking or running with less than 10 kilos. So it's all about a technology growth as well on all the parts that you're actually carrying when you carry your RV, which is the bike touring configuration. For me, that's the RV. You carry your home, everything. For bikepacking, it's the camper van. You carry what's necessary. And as well, you are followed by innovations in the industry. Without the innovations, you take out the gravel bike from this equation. It's not possible to do that. I can withstand the same conditions. I've been at minus 25 in Bolivia bike touring and minus 25 bikepacking. But I have the down jacket is different, lighter, more expensive, and new. The BV bag is different. The sleeping bag is different. The mattress is different. And it's all about reductions and improving technologies. Without these innovations, that couldn't work.
And why are the bags so high up on the bike? I never understood that either. I mean, is it kind of aerodynamic issues or why?
No, it's mostly because because of weight. That bike on the balance is 17.5 kilos without nothing. Nothing. You take off the panniers, the rack, the World Traveler, the Koga, on the bike configuration, the configurator is 17.5 kilos. That bike was sub 10 kilos. So just the bike, you win 7.5 kilos. That's more than 10% at my actual weight. Then the entire bike setup is divided by 2, 25 kilos versus 60. So it's all about weight. And the bags are here because you can't attach them on les haubans. I don't know the word in English, but the backside of the carbon frame. On the fork, it's slowly coming back though. You have now reinforced fork that are lighter than bike touring configuration that allows to attach mounting system. And small bags for water capacity, for instance. So you're right, it's all about taking your crap and carrying less crap. But in the end, it's technology and innovations that are making things possible. Without technology, you would be stuck with your bike touring configuration like this, because these bikes have been manufactured for 100 years now. And people have been traveling like this for 100 years. Other questions? Well, thank you. And if you don't have your meal, enjoy your lunch. Thank you.